Hey, listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey.
We got a couple of big shows happening at the moment. NXT is hosting their Great American Bash event, while over in AEW they are hosting their Fyter Fest event. Both of them just had their night ones yesterday at time of recording, and both of them are going to have their night twos next week. So we thought it would be a good time to run down the results from night one and maybe look ahead at night two for both of these shows. And we're going to start on the WWE side of things and take a look at the Great American Bash. The opening match of night one saw Tegan Nox capture the number one contendership for the NXT Women's title against our expectations.
Yeah, this should be very interesting. Nox finally is getting a moment, at least with a major match with the current champion. Kind of makes sense too, as well.
Yeah, so it had the best thing, because this match was like last minute change to an elimination match. It had a little bit of story, with Mia Yim getting rid of Candice LeRae, which has set up a match for night two, which we'll talk about in a bit. But then it also let the final two be Kai and Nox again, because it seems as though the final chapter in their story isn't quite written just yet.
Or perhaps this was the final chapter.
True.
Nox finally conquered Dakota Kai, and in the process gained her a number one contendership match, in title match. So we'll have to see, but it's definitely a lot more interesting than it could have been.
Yeah, maybe I was blinded by my New Zealand fanaticism in the early prediction of Dakota Kai taking out the win. But I'm interested. I would have been interested in any four of these women taking on Io Shirai. So I'm not disappointed in a Tegan Nox one.
Yeah, I figured it was going to be Mia Yim because of the whole thing that they did with Mia Yim versus Io Shirai last year.
Mm.
But hey, I'm pleasantly surprised.
And one match that we're not quite surprised about was the next match on the card, and that was Timothy Thatcher. He took on Oney Lorcan and walked away with the win. Thatcher's getting a bit of a push at the moment in NXT.
Yeah, he's taking people to school, and then doing promos about taking people to school. I'm enjoying his work right now.
Yeah, he's really bringing that technical side. And as we saw with Matt Riddle when he was Pete Dunne's replacement, he can pull off the straight man to the comedic guy as well. So he's got a couple layers to him. It'll be interesting to see in the coming weeks, I guess, what more we pull out of the guy, just because this character is still being built and developed, and at least for the NXT audience, shown to everybody about what he's actually here to do.
I look forward to an eventual Pete Dunne versus Timothy Thatcher match. I think that will be a match of the year contender.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of the great technical guys rolling around at the moment. Obviously, Thatcher here, Pete Dunne, as you say, Oney Lorcan, not going to look down on the guy. The guy's great, and this match was awesome as well. Just didn't see him walking out with the win. Then over on SmackDown, you got that Gulak Bryan Riddle connection with Gable starting to do his thing, getting a little bit of a push again. A lot of technical guys getting the pushes at the moment, or a lot of technical guys getting focus across those two brands. Next up, we had another women's division match. This one had a little bit of an interesting stipulation here. It was Rhea Ripley versus Alea. And if Rhea Ripley had lost, she would have had to have joined the Robert Stone brand, but she did not, and she continues to be a lone wolf.
Yeah, but she was buried when she lost to Charlotte.
Ironically, in comparison to that, I wanted her to lose this. I wanted her to join the Robert Stone brand. I thought it would be fun if she somehow fumbled. Like, it was an absolute shock loss, based on, like, one tiny mistake. And then for the next month or so, we're playing out a person who doesn't want to be in the Robert Stone brand. And, you know, because Robert Stone's just had this horrible trajectory, where he lost his main girl. He's getting worse and worse and worse. He's getting more and more desperate. It felt like a random lucky windfall leading into him getting his mojo back. Would have been a pretty cool storyline to play out.
Yeah, but anything's better than being Jesse E in Impact.
Yeah, that's true. I cannot fault that statement. But it's not like Rhea Ripley's gonna know, because now she's just continued to be dominant, and we know she's not going to be the number one contender for the NXT Women's title. So what is actually next on Rhea Ripley's plate?
I think a trip to SmackDown.
Okay. A permanent trip?
Possibly.
Okay.
I don't know.
A little bit of jet setting coming into the Performance Center the next day. It's a lot easier to shift around, it definitely is. We've got 2 more matches left to go on this card. Let's look at the strap match. The first ever one in NXT. It was Roderick Strong versus Dexter Lumis, and the crazy man comes out on top.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is give us just a crazy stalker a strap.
I'm really loving what they're doing with Lumis. I feel like they're nailing it.
Yeah, I think they've taken what he was able to do as Shane Shaw and turned it up to 11.
Yeah, it's just so, I guess, different to a lot of things. And it's a prominent, played out part of NXT. You know, it's not here one week, gone, and then maybe shows up in a month from now. Whether it's just in the background, you know, whether it's Roderick Strong going to undisputed therapy because he can't stop thinking about Dexter Lumis, whether it's Lumis standing in the crowd scaring them. He's sort of this ever-present force that's just there to spook people.
Yeah, or him posting on Roderick Strong and the group's Twitter accounts when he had him kidnapped.
Yeah, I feel like they're nailing it. I think they're doing everything right with this guy, and he's going to be one of their top guys, if he ain't already. And then the final match of the night one, for the results that we'll be talking about, Io Shirai, with a little bit of help from an old friend, manages to defeat Sasha Banks.
Yeah, it didn't need to be a clean win because the title wasn't on the line. So what can you say? It was Asuka came and helped. That furthers the storyline with it furthers the storyline on Raw, and Io gets a big win ahead of her eventual match with Tegan Nox. And we'll probably end up seeing it on part 2. The role models versus Io and Asuka.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you think that match will be added to night 2, or do you think that'll be outside of this Great American Bash event?
I don't know. It's very possible it could happen on SmackDown for all we know. But I think it probably will be announced for NXT on SmackDown.
Gotcha. Yeah, as of time of recording, nothing is announced for that tag team match. We just assume it's a pretty good assumption that it'll be happening at some point soon. But yeah, Asuka comes in, gives the win to Io. And yeah, as you say, it advances so many storylines in one match, and that's probably my favorite part at the moment. Is that very similar to Survivor Series? The brands are crossing over just a little bit. You know, it doesn't feel like everybody's just jumping around randomly. We've still got brand separation. We've still got walls put up, but there's a little bit of crossover, and you get that just hints of storylines progressing in one show for another, and it's my preferred style of separation. But let's look ahead to night 2, at least the announced matches that we have at this point of recording. 7 a.m. On the 3rd of July, New Zealand time. Mia Yim, Candice LeRae, they're going to have a street fight. These guys have been feuding for a while. It's time to end it.
Yeah. I think in the end, Candice LeRae will come out on top.
Mm-hmm. That's a nice and easy one then. We'll go to Candice LeRae. We've also got a 6-man tag team match. Breezango are going to be teaming up with Drake Maverick to take on Santos Escobar and his crew.
I think it's another case where the heels come out on top.
Oh, man.
I think it's designed to further the storyline between Drake and Santos. I think Drake will almost win the match, but something will happen. Whether it's something like very simple, like it's just they've been the wrong guy, trying to pin the wrong guy. It's not the guy he's trying to pin isn't legal,
Mm-hmm.
and then Santos takes advantage of that, and takes him out or something. I just think it's just another almost, just to further build it towards the eventual match that they'll have one-on-one.
Well, slightly different question. Breezango. We've had astronauts, we've had doctors, we've had Emporium. What is their entrance going to be? What weird and wonderful occupation are they going to spoof in their entrance this time?
Dentists.
There we go. We got one more match on night 2 before we get to the song this week. It is a winner-takes-all NXT Championship and NXT North American Championship match between Keith Lee and Adam Cole. Baby.
The reason I picked the first 2 matches to be heels is because I think this show ends with a bang.
You think we're going home with the good guy?
I think we're going home with basking in the glory of Keith Lee.
I could see it. It seemed as though, like, I struggle with predicting these NXT title matches now, just because we looked at it and we were like, oh yeah, Cole's gonna lose it now, and then he retains it. Oh yeah, Cole's gonna lose it to Dream, and then he retains it. And now we're going, oh yeah, Cole's gonna lose it to Keith Lee, and I'm going, but will he retain it? Just to mess with us, just so we could be wrong once again. Out of spite, is he going to retain? But I think this match and winning it definitely benefits Lee a lot more than it benefits Cole. Cole has no reason to have the North American title on his shoulder, but Keith Lee has a whole lot of reason to have the NXT Championship on his.
Yeah. And I think it would be a major moment that they could celebrate with confetti and stuff. In the locker room, like, emptying within reason.
Yeah.
and celebrating the crowning of a brand new NXT champion.
It's been a long time coming. Both Keith Lee winning the NXT title and Adam Cole losing it. But we will have to wait and see what happens on night 2 for NXT's Great American Bash. Let's roll on into our entrance theme this week. She won the number 1 contendership for the NXT Women's Championship, and that means it is time to play Tegan Nox's entrance theme. Interactive Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and NPR. I'm Grady, he's Josh, and that was NXT's Great American Bash. Now that we are back, we're going to take a quick look over at AEW's Fyter Fest event. The first match saw Jurassic Express, the awesome team of Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, one of my favorites, managed to take out, I don't know how to describe MJF on radio without using bad words, and his muscle Wardlow.
He's just the bad guy of AEW.
That's true.
I'm glad to see Luchasaurus back.
Mm-hmm.
They were such a great team before Luchasaurus got hurt. So I want to see them begin their road to the tag team titles. I think they deserve it because they were prior to that injury the most over tag team in NXT in AEW.
Yeah, I think AEW, like at the moment, and we might not get all the matches because I'm going to tangent us, but sorry. Stuff like Gallows and Anderson are floating around, and everyone's like, "Oh man, AEW," and you're sitting here going, "They have a stacked tag team division as it is." Like, there's just so many, as we talk about the cards, like, if I'm looking at just tag teams that are featured on the 2-day Fyter Fest, you've got Jurassic Express, MJF and Wardlow, Private Party, Inner Circle, Omega and Page, Best Friends, Dark Order, SCU, FTR, Young Bucks, Butcher and Blade, Lucha Brothers. And that's just featured over a 2-night event. It's like, do they really need another tag team?
Especially with the rumors that they want to form their own promotion.
But yeah, Jurassic Express, I think, will start quickly rising up those ranks. We did see a couple other tag matches on night 1. Private Party with Matt Hardy standing behind him. Did manage to defeat the Inner Circle in what seemed to be a de facto number 1 contendership kind of match. But in the main event of the first night, Kenny Omega and Adam Page defeated the Best Friends, sadly. The Best Friends getting entrance of the night, though, as they rock up in a people mover with Trent's mum driving it. As they try and look all serious, and Trent's mum making sure she gets a goodbye kiss from Trent before letting him go out for his match. Best Friends are killing it on the comedy side of things, but unfortunately could not capture the championships as Omega and Page retain.
Yeah, there's too much of comparison to the current Raw Tag Team Champions for the Private Party to Best Friends to actually win the titles. But I'm sure they put on a good match with Omega and Page.
Yeah. It's 4 great wrestlers going in the ring, right? It's pretty tough for those kind of guys to not put on a good match. Trent and Chuck Taylor, to me, are always just going to be the guys who can go out there. You can put them with whoever, and they're going to put on a, not necessarily 5-star, but a good old little 3.5, 4-star kind of thing. As much as I am not a huge fan of star ratings, that sort of above average match with people. And then Omega and Page, they're continuing this. Will they, won't they? Are they going to split up? Which has been, I guess, the wedge drived between them in the aftermatch segment. where FTR come out and they try and share a beer with the tag team champions, and Kenny Omega pours out his beer, annoying FTR, which leads to the Young Bucks having to come in and try and separate what's about to happen. And visually, you see the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega on one side, and FTR and Adam Page on the other side. And you sort of get the tease. But they've also been teasing it for like a year, so who knows when it's actually going to happen or when that trigger is going to be pulled. But that sort of the roots of that are spread throughout Night 2 as well, because Night 2 we're going to see FTR and the Young Bucks actually team up in an 8-man tag team match against Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Brothers. So there's tension there as well, which leads me to think that maybe the Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade can walk out with the win.
I think they will, because I think the FTR will walk out on the Young Bucks.
I think it's definitely possible. There's so much tension there. It's a gray area. I don't think FTR are going to be overly good guys in AEW for long. As you say, I think potentially a walkout might be in order. But also, yay, the Lucha Brothers are able to get back to AEW as well. They've been off for a little while, I believe, due to travel restrictions and stuff like that. But now they're back, and we should start seeing some cool matches from them again. I'm checking the time as I'm jumping around. Just to continue that, Kenny Omega and Adam Page are defending their titles again on Night 2, this time against Private Party. As you say, though, I don't think Private Party are going to capture them.
I'm going to say they do.
Oh.
I think that's where they'll pull the trigger. And Page will turn on Omega.
Couldn't they have pulled it the night before and given it to the best friends? Come on. No. Nothing against Private Party, I just prefer best friends from a personal standpoint. Yeah, I don't know. It seems as though they'd been saving that and saving that and saving that and saving that. And I don't know if they were trying to save it for crowds or what, but that I don't think that's happening anytime soon. So if the trigger needs to be pulled, the trigger needs to be pulled. You can only tease something for so long.
Yeah, and then you could have a match at Fight for the Fallen, which may or may not end clearly, and then continue on to the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, Fight for the Fallen's already started to shape up because Jon Moxley couldn't make it to Fyter Fest due to illnesses in the family. It's a weirder way to put that.
Quarantine.
Yeah, quarantine. There we go. And that meant that match had to get delayed, but I'm sure him versus Brian Cage for the AEW Championship will still be a good match over at Fight for the Fallen instead of Fyter Fest, which I believe, yes, is July 15th, so it's the week right after Fyter Fest. So it's Fyter Fest Night 1, Fyter Fest Night 2, and then straight into Fight for the Fallen.
No matter how good it is, it's not going to be Adam Cole versus Keith Lee.
That's true. So maybe it got saved by being jumped off Night 2 and it's not going head-to-head anymore. Because I'm looking at all these Night 2 matches for Fyter Fest and I don't quite know what's going on last. I guess if Kenny Omega and Adam Page are splitting, then that match will probably go on last. Otherwise, I don't quite know. Your only other big match here you got is maybe Chris Jericho versus Orange Cassidy. But I don't know if they'll put that on as the early opener.
That'll probably be the opener, and the ending will probably be the 8-man tag.
That's true, yeah. especially if FTR and Young Bucks are going to advance the storyline there as well. So they got a couple options, and it will be interesting to see which of the options they end up going with. By the way, Orange Cassidy will hopefully beat Chris Jericho, just saying. That's all I want to say. Slide that in there before the end of the show.
That might mean he has to take his hands out of his pockets to do it.
Ooh, when you make him real mad, he'll do it. Either way, that is all we've got time for this week. It's been great talking to you.
Bye-bye.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/Wrestling Radio, Twitter page, twitter.com/Wrestling Radio, and we'll see you next week with results from Night 2 of both NXT Great American Bash and AEW Fyter Fest.